right, let's take a look at our gear for this shave. This is Austere August, so I'm using the same blade every day as long as I can. This one's had 12 uses in it. Today is the 11th day, so this will be 13 uses for today. I had 2 uses coming into the month on the blade. It's a Gillette Nacet. It's already in the razor. Since I'm using the same razor, I didn't bother to take it out. The soap I'm using is Williams Mug soap. It's been around for a very long time, and it does a very good job if you know how to use it. It's also easy to generate a pretty junk lather with it, and I think that's what a lot of people get. And so one of my goals is to help to put some good information out there on how to get good lathers. The good news is all of my attempts so far have produced good, slick, shaveable lathers every single day this month. But I'm looking for the cream of the crop, so we're going to keep searching until we get it. The brush, this is a Whip Dog Boar brush, 24 millimeter Boar brush. Got a lot of nice hairs in there, and the knot is set into a nice long handle from Shave Forge, and this one's purple. It's got a good grip. I like it for my big hands. And if you're curious to set a knot inside, it's a great cheap way to get a good brush. And I just use normal silicone, standard silicone. It may not be as permanent as epoxy. However, you can pull this thing out a lot easier with silicone if you ever want to change to a different handle. And I've found that to be a very good use, a very needed feature as I learn which handles I like and which handles I don't. So first thing I'm going to do, take this, squeeze the bristles together so it fits down into my little cup. Let it soak for a few minutes. The post-shave product on hand is Afta, and this fresh scent is kind of girly, but it's what I chose for the month. I figure I'd try to learn something about that experience. And one thing I did was, if you combine that with Old Spice, the Old Spice overwhelms the girliness, but the girliness provides just a little depth and interest to go with all of those, because a lot of the men's fragrances do have some floral elements to them and other things that one might consider girly. It's just that it's part of a medley, it's part of a formula, and by the time you add everything together, it ends up to smell really nice. So I learned that one thing. This is the Blackland Dart razor. This is the machined finish, and like the underside of the cap here, you might be able to see some of those machine marks. That's just they're saving labor, and it gives it character, and you get a precision milled stainless steel razor for less than you would have if you would have made them polish it up for you. Plus, it's got better grip. The grip on this thing, you're not going to drop it even if it gets wet and soapy because of this, because of that the brushed metal kind of effect instead of a polished metal. And you've seen that. I'll use this to add water to the lather as I'm working. And new to the team is this lather bowl. It kind of looks like the Captain's Choice lather bowl, but it's deeper. The Captain's Choice lather bowl, I have a feeling, is too shallow for me. I tried the Fine Accoutrements lather bowl, and it was about the same height as the Captain's Choice, and I kept having to work really hard to keep the lather in. I don't have to do that with this guy. It's got a curved in lip that'll throw the soap back in the bowl. It's got obviously the ridges in the bottom, and it's got this cool thumb ring that helps me to wash the bowl when I'm done. It also helps me to pick it up from the sink securely, even if I have kind of wet hands. Today's difference in the shave is going to be, I am going to bloom the soap. Yep, about 20 minutes almost is the bloom, or the soak, if you will. Then I'm going to lather, load the soap for 30 seconds this time instead of 20. And then I want to use the same amount of water, 1.5 teaspoons. And that is the exact same formula as last time, with the exception of longer load time. And so that's going to give me more soap in my brush, because last time I thought maybe I could use a little less water or more soap. So that's what we're going for. All right, let me get my face wet. "24-hour growth. That's what we're looking at here. I do have hard water, and it's cold. I don't do the hot water thing. So I'm going to pour out the bloom water. I shredded the puck at the beginning of the month of the Williams, and actually it's starting to kind of break apart a little bit. When you shred it, you can then press it into any size container that you want. All right, so this is ready to go. I'm going to sling as much water as I can out of my Boar brush. There we go. So 30-second load, and we're starting at the 3-second mark, so we'll go to 33. Seems like this soap really does need some level of, if you're going to bowl lather, some level of soaking or blooming to really become creamy. Almost there. And 3. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of wipe up kind of the excess, make sure it's on the brush. All right. Now I have my thumb in the thing for security. This is about a 5.5 inch interior diameter bowl, so it's much larger than most of the bowls out there. And that's one of the things that that's why I sought out and asked a artisan if they would make me a bowl. And this actually kind of gets a little bit of the lather going with just the moistness from the brush, without adding any water at all. Some soaps, do work that way. Then once it kind of looks like it's not changing anymore, expanding anymore, or anything like that, then that's when I start adding water. And we'll start with a syringe full of 2 teaspoons, and I'm only going to put in 1.5 teaspoons. As a matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to push out a 1/2 teaspoon right now. So I'll add the rest, and that will help me not to forget or make an error and put too much water in and kind of mess up my stuff. Yeah, the bowl I used before did not have the ridges, and so it's possible that that the lather could be different because of that. But my point is not to compare bowls. My point is to get a really creamy lather from Williams. So whichever bowl I use to get it, and then once I get a good formula, I could get out my other bowl, and prove that it's not the bowl that makes it happen. Okay, it's coming up nicely. Wow, this is a lot more liquidy. I also added water a lot quicker than I did before, and this may have made a huge difference. Wow, I might just have to pitch this lather. We'll just keep mixing it for a little while and check. As a matter of fact, why don't I pause you? All I'm going to do is stir and see if I can see what happens. Yeah, that was too airy. It was too much air in there, and so it wasn't going to end up well. So I just dumped it all down the drain, and we will just start over. But I'm going to use the same procedures. I'm just going to add water a little more slowly this time because I just dumped a whole half teaspoon in at a time. Let me do a little bit more slow. I'm still going to do the 30-second load, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back kind of at the end of the lather so you don't have to rewatch the whole thing, right? And then I'll bring you in. All right, so I just did my 30-second load. Here's what the brush looks like. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working that in. I'll pause you again. All right, I'm going to stop, and I've only added, I set this again to 1.5 teaspoons before I started. And I've actually only added a half a teaspoon to the lather, but it's already feeling a little on the thin side. This is about how much quantity we have, so it's probably going to be okay. So let's just try it out. Let's just try it out. All right, I'm gonna get my face wet again. I was hoping that the 30 seconds of load time instead of the 20 would give me a richer lather. I don't know. Scrubbing, just kind of to clean up. Okay, now we'll switch to painting. See how rough that is? You know, to me, it's behaving so weird because this says I need more water. You see the rough furrows and texture on my neck there? That says I need more water, and I bet this lather is going to smooth out nicely if I just add some water to my brush. Just add a few drops on the brush, then kind of paint it back and forth. And so it's like it gets, I don't know, is it getting too much air in it? Maybe the lather likes to be mixes better on the face than inside of a bowl. You see that is a lot creamier, and the lather is starting to get rich and dense on the brush itself. Go ahead and keep kind of adding water to the brush here. See, look, it's just growing because that, you know, the soap was in fact, you know, needing more water. But if I kept working with it in the bowl, it just kind of kept adding bubbles to it. But look at this. This is great. You know, the secret to lathering Williams may just be face lather it. And your face just works a lot better than the bowl. That's very interesting. I just kept it. How much water did I add? I ended up adding about 1/3 of a teaspoon right there. Kind of drop by drop, slowly adding it. And now, Take a look at my neck and those furrows. They're more consistent. They're less blotchy. I mean, yeah, there's a big guy right here, but that's just a, you know, where the end of the brush was right here. Nice, consistent furrows that don't indicate too dry or anything like that. So cool. All right. Good feel. The lather's being protective and slick. Very good. I'm keeping more the 30 to 35 degree angle for this first pass. It seems to not generate any irritation and lets me really knock down the hairs well. Once I get down here on my neck, I always go either from the top or from the bottom, generally. And that's because my neck hairs pretty much go cross grain. There we go, first pass down. It started out as a really frustrating lather. It's got small bubbles in there in the bowl, but what's right here that was mixed on the face is much better. Maybe I put away the bowl for August. Just lather on the face with Williams. All right, let's rinse it off. Okay. Next layer on. So what we've got in the bowl is a concentrated amount of soap. It's just got a little too much air in it. So I can go get that concentrate, and let's see what happens if I do the same thing again with the dropper. If I put too much water at a time on the brush, then it just kind of leaks off, you know, or it falls off once I start this type of scrubbing action. If I put it down the middle, a lot of times I find I'm going to point my face up to maybe hopefully get that toward the tips of the bristles instead of going down to the root of the knot and coming out the handle. I've had that happen before. So what is the secret then to getting the bowl to not impart those bubbles, you know? All right, that should be good enough. Man, my face is getting a good treatment with brushing tonight. And there we go. That's inconvenient to have to do that before every pass though. So we'll see. We'll keep working on it. Oh, that's super slick and feels great. Very smooth. So this is the 13th use of this blade. It feels controlled and predictable. Feels good. I'm adjusting my handle angle as I go. If you don't know about the dart, you can, I found great success if it gets a little too rough or aggressive to bring the tip of the handle in a little closer to the face, which has the effect of relieving the pressure off the blade and putting just a little bit more pressure on the safety bar. It also causes the blade to be at an angle slightly closer to perpendicular than when you have the handle out. And that seems to work well for me in controlling the irritation level of this razor. And it allows it really to be a dynamic razor. If I want to cut a lot, then I can open the handle angle out a little bit more to get that maximum bite. If I've already cut an area and I need to be careful not to generate irritation, I can bring the handle in just a hair to do that. Rinse. Pause you while Mystic water is another one that you have to add water to very slowly. If the bubbles start up, then you need to kind of start over or dump out the light stuff. And that's another one people have trouble with, but I found a really good way to work it. You just add water very slowly with a damp brush. In the very beginning, without adding water at all, you just load for a while, that kind of thing, and then start adding very slowly when you generate your lather. But I tried that technique on this one. It doesn't seem to work very well. All right, so let's lather up for the third pass. So yeah, this is a dry lather that is going to need some liquid loving. That should be all right. And we've used up the whole 1.5 teaspoons of water. So it would appear that all my recipe is right. Soap level, load time, soaking, pre-soak, and then amount of water added. All that together is the right recipe. It's just that my procedure with the brush and the bowl is adding too much air into the mix. So I'll have to figure that out. So we are good. Let us shave this last guy off. Turn my shoulder away, can help to make this skin a little bit more firm. This is a very good lather. Very slick, protective. Now let's turn it around, make sure we come at this guy the right way. Swirlies over here, which is why I have to keep changing the direction of my strokes over there. Very nice. With a tiny bit of irritation over here. Let's rinse it all off. Yeah, I think the dullness of the blade, or other lack of extra sharpness, is really starting to show here. I'm seeing some good bit of length on several hairs. Let's go ahead and do a touch up. Leave some water there to help the lather out. Everywhere else feels great. Everywhere else looks great. Gentle pressure. See, the hair is right there. I think I got him pretty well. I don't want to risk irritation. Close enough. All right, I'm going to rinse and take a look at it. Yeah, it looks like the blade is getting a little bit worse each day. Maybe 6 to 8 hairs are starting to be left at a point where I can see a little bit of length there. The rest of them are cut very nicely. So that's interesting. We'll see how long. What's interesting is the blade's not pulling, and so it's just not cutting as well as it did in shaves 1 through 7. So 13, still an acceptable shave. If you had a very professional boss who insisted on a super close shave and they were often right up in your face, then this would probably not be acceptable up to the standard that you would need. Just to let you know. Now, if they were always 4 feet or more away, you'd probably not have a problem at all. So that's what we're talking about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some of this aftershave lotion. Good news is the kind of womany scent goes away after. It doesn't take too long for it to go away. I like the alcohol sting on this because I have oily skin, and this can help to kind of dry out, break up the oils, and kind of reset my skin. The alcohol also tells me about any rough treatment my skin may have gotten during the shave that may be invisible to the naked eye. If I get no stings at all, I know it was a good shave with great technique, if I also end up with a close shave. All right, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm curious. I am going to take a really soft badger knot that I have, and I'm going to mix up the same batch of lather. I'm not going to make you watch it. I'm going to mix up the same batch of lather and let's see if it's as airy. I wonder if this Boar brush with a bowl, if that combination of the two is problematic. But anyway, that's the end of this shave. I have zero irritation, and I already told you about the result. Really happy with the shave. Once I discovered about what I could do when I got it on the face, that made it creamy and enjoyable, very much so. Happy with that experience. I'm unhappy with the fact that I had to drop on the brush each time. You know, that's a pain. So there we go. That's the bit about the shave. So now comes the experiment. If you don't want to hang around for that, I understand. But I'll just pop back and tell you the results. It's not going to be a long thing. All right, so let me show you the results. I have been at this lather for about 9 minutes, kind of average. I just approached it the same way as I did today's lather, and I just used this Badger brush. It's a very low backbone brush, very soft. I was curious if it would have any difference in what it did. Now, in the same manner as the Boar, I felt of it, and it felt too thin and dry after adding, you know, half a teaspoon or 1 teaspoon even, you know, and I said, you know what, let's just keep adding the water. And what has happened is that it has gotten better. See if that'll stay on there. And I think what I've ended up with is a much better lather. I don't think it's as airy. I've got tons of it here. That's not even all of it. So maybe my soap mixture is just a little rich. But I'm just going ahead and put some on and just see what it looks like on my face. Because as we know, sometimes the lather can be a little deceptive. Let me get a little water. Of course, I've still got my aftershave on here, so that may make it a really bad test. This is a creamy lather. And this needs more water too. Very interesting. So maybe it feels too thin. That's because it just needs more water. I don't know. So here's the brush. You can see the air bubbles are just almost imperceptible. So I think that's what we want to head toward. And that feels great. That is a creamy lather. That is really nice. That is what I'm heading for. So maybe with that thinness, I'm stopping adding the water too early. Maybe it has to do with the Badger brush with the hairs that are a little finer. Maybe they're not introducing as much air into it. So what I think I want to do next time is, you know, I didn't add all the water this time. Remember, I stopped at just about half a teaspoon, and then I ended up having to add that later onto the brush. So I think I'm going to duplicate this same exact lather tomorrow and just go ahead and not be afraid of adding. And look at all of that awesome creamy lather right there. Maybe the Boar can't do it because, and this has got some cushion on it like crazy. This stuff is terrific. This is what I've been looking for. It's got a little bit of resistance there, which I'm interpreting as cushion, but still super slick when you rub your fingertips together. I can't pause you. Let me see if I can get a knuckle in there. I can't. All right. Let me just rinse it off. That is very interesting. Now maybe it'll take some kind of technique like mixing more slowly, but when I use the badgers just now, I didn't. I just used my normal kind of instinctive rhythm to do it, and I ended up with this great lather. It's not dissipating off my face or anything like that. I don't feel any tingling or anything, so we're in good shape. I'm going to pause you while I clean up. All right, so what that little experiment told me was a couple of questions that maybe I'll need to try to find the answer to. Number one, is that Boar brush adding in air to a greater degree than a badger might, and therefore is tripping up Williams? Number two, am I just stopping adding water like I did today too soon? That's easy to test. Next time I'll use the Boar again, and I'll just keep adding water, and we'll see what happens. With many soaps, when you first start mixing up the lather and you've only added maybe a third of the water that you're going to end up adding to the lather, it's more on the thick side. And so you gradually keep adding water and the thickness goes down until it gets to a nice, and it's kind of dry, relatively speaking. And then it goes down, and you can feel that. And then once it hits the right thinness, you can know when to stop. But this seems to be a little different animal. It seems to feel thin while it's in that dry state, and that can trick me, and it did, into stopping adding water when it in fact needed more. So I think I'm going to keep my formula the same, and I'll just try it again and add all the water next time instead of stopping early. I might even try to stir a little more slowly to perhaps not add bubbles, if that might work. So there we go. I'm really glad I tried that, because the lather I ended up with, and so maybe the solution is just to have a dense brush. It's not going to stir up too many bubbles. That badger brush, I didn't do anything different but just change brushes, and it ended up giving me a wonderful creamy lather. So it could be that I just picked the wrong brush for this month to get a creamy lather, unless I face lather. So that might be it. Anyway, that's enough for experiments and nitpicking and tweaking. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Thanks for joining me. See if we can get this figured out. Hope there was something here helpful to you. Take care. Good night.